Hi everyone, my name is Senait and this is my mother, Chef Lemlem.
Hi everybody.
Today we're going to teach you how to make Doro Wot. Doro Wot is a traditional staple in many Ethiopian and Eritrean households, and my mom makes the best Doro Wot I've ever had, and while this is a very subjective opinion, many people have attested to it, both family and friends, and I think you'll love it once you make the wet that we're about to show you as well. So enjoy. So for Chef Lemlem's Doro Wot, the recipe calls for 3 pounds of onion, and it could be either yellow onion or red onion. We're also using a whole chicken, and while you could use other pre-cut chicken, it's traditionally much more flavorful if you use the whole chicken. And we try to get chicken that's either organic or natural, without antibiotics and hormones, and I think that helps with the flavor of the chicken as well, and outside of it being healthier for all of us. We have berbere, and this is 4 tablespoons of berbere. Berbere is a traditional Ethiopian and Eritrean chili spice, and we use 3 tablespoons of kibe, or as they say in Tigrinya, esmi, and it's a spiced Ethiopian Eritrean butter, and it's similar to ghee, which is sort of like an Indian butter as well. We'll use a half a cup of oil, so that's about 4 ounces, and it could be either vegetable oil or canola oil. Canola oil has a lot of health benefits, and that's what we're using today. We have here 2 little bowls of salt. One is going to be used to make the Doro Wot, and the other is going to be used to clean the chicken. So for the Doro Wot, we use 1 teaspoon of salt, and for cleaning the chicken, we'll use another teaspoon of salt. And finally, there's lemon, and this is also to clean the chicken. The recipe also calls for water and eggs. The eggs are optional, but they're a wonderful addition. And the eggs, we would boil and peel them, and we'll put them in the end. For the water, we boil the water. We do it here in an electric kettle, and we use the water when we saute the onions and berbere together, so that the mixture doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. So we chopped the onions, and we've chopped it finely, but not too finely, and so you can see the consistency of the onion. And the reason we do that is when we saute the onions, when you have it chopped too finely, then it gets more watery and takes longer to saute. So just try to keep this consistency in the onion. Now we're going to put the onions in the pot. So when you start the sauteing process, we first put the onions in the pot and keep it on low heat, so that some of the moisture can evaporate. We'll still keep the lid closed because we don't want it to burn prematurely or get stuck in the bottom of the pot. But at the same time, we don't want it too watery, so that when we do add oil to it, it will cook faster. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the onions to cook and the moisture to dissipate, we'll start prepping the chicken, which means we'll wash it and cut it. So while we're waiting for the onions to cook, we'll wash the chicken. And Chef Lemlem is doing as we speak.
we're going to cut the wings.
Okay. So cut the wings.
Got the wings.
Okay. And you just start right there between the leg and the wing is where you start cutting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you cut through and just try to like find your way around the bone. And so that you're only having to cut through the ligaments rather than trying to cut the bone.
Okay.
And then next, we're going to take the skin off?
Yes.
Okay.
Take the skin off. It's too fatty to eat the skin.
Okay.
So it's okay if it breaks because we're not going to eat it.
Yeah. That's fine. Gets a little tricky when you get to this this area, which is the derriere. Is that the derriere?
This is
the neck. It's rather the.
This is the neck,
Okay.
and this is the breast.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Two breasts. Take it back.
Almost done taking the skin off.
Yeah, look loose and I'm talking. Now we're going to cut the thighs. So we try to cut from the limb.
From the hip?
Yeah, and then you cut it.
Okay.
Just
again, like sort of looking for the joint rather than going through the bone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a thigh and this is a drumstick.
Okay.
So, off.
Okay.
So you're gonna remove all the fats when you wash it.
Okay.
So we have one more.
Okay. So there's like a specific way that we cut the chicken for Doro Wot, and that's sort of traditionally, this method is traditionally used in many households. And I have asked my mom to show me how she cuts the chicken because, I mean, you could cut it in different ways, but it feels unnatural. So.
And now we're gonna cut the breast.
Okay.
So this is how you cut
it in. This looks like, are you cutting it in half or?
No, we just.
Okay, you're just cutting off the breast. Okay.
Yeah, off from the.
From the top part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peel it off.
Okay.
And you usually do this. It's a cultural thing. I don't know what it means.
Okay.
Then you see, try to, there is some kind of connection right here.
Okay, like a ligament.
Ligament,
okay.
yeah. So you just make sure you hit that. When you hit
Okay.
that, you feel it.
Okay.
Then
again, you sort of rip it off.
rip it off.
Yeah.
And do this.
Okay.
Then one more. We have to. This is a wishbone.
Okay.
Wishbone.
Okay.
I think. So I cut it from here and then it looks loose already.
Okay.
Okay, separate this.
Awesome. Okay.
And then after that, these are the ribs.
Okay.
This is the back, and then you cut it off. You cut the back.
Okay, you separate the ribs from the back.
The ribs from the back.
Okay. That's interesting.
Then I have to take the ribs out.
Okay.
And then I'll cut the neck.
Okay.
When the neck is too long, we cut it into 2 or 3.
Okay.
But this one is short, so I don't have to cut it.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'll take this off.
Okay.
Then the back, we have to break it into 2.
Okay.
First, I have to remove this. This is a tail. This
Okay.
is a tail. And now we don't eat this.
No, the derriere.
Huh?
The derriere.
Yeah. Then we cut this. This
Okay.
is the back.
Okay.
But after this one, you just have to wash it and then remove all the fats
Okay.
and wash it. After we wash it, we soak it with.
When you take the rib bone, you're taking the bones off of the rib?
Yeah, just the
Okay.
bones like this.
Okay.
You break them.
Okay.
Then take one by one.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. After we cut and clean the chicken, and cleaned it in terms of taking as much fat off as you can, then you just wash it and try to, this will help get some of the residual fat off and some of the veins and things like that. So you like to wash it thoroughly. Drain the water out. And wash it and rinse it. One more time. So you just sort of keep repeating this process until you're comfortable that you've gotten rid of like just, small fat pieces and it just the water looks not too murky.
No fat.
Okay. It's pretty clean.
Then after this, we're going to cook it.
Okay, so we'll dump this water out again, and then we'll soak it in salt and lemon, and we'll go back to check on the onions. While we've been washing, go back and just check on the pot, stir the onions every once in a while. But since it's on low heat, and since it's quite a bit of onions, it shouldn't stick to the bottom of your pot, but that also somewhat is based on the type of pot that you have, so just keep that in mind. Okay, now we'll put the salt and lemon in a bowl. This is 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 lemon. So
Cut in 4.
yeah, in 4 slices, and we'll soak it like this for about a half an hour or so.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
as you see, a lot of the moisture has dissipated, and the onion is a bit brown, slightly brown, and looks quite cooked, but we'll still keep stirring it until some of this moisture goes away, and then we'll begin to add some of the ingredients. So the onions are more or less ready for us to add the next ingredient, which is oil. Most of the moisture has evaporated, and we're ready to saute with oil. So you put in the half a cup of oil, 4 ounces of oil in, and we'll saute it for about 5 minutes. it's nice and a bit slightly more brown than what it is, but it's about 5 minutes of sauteing. So it's sauteed for about 5 minutes. Just slightly more brown than we started, almost unnoticeably so, but just a tiny bit brown. And now we'll add the berbere.
It's 4.
And that's 4 tablespoons of berbere. Make sure you get it all in and keep stirring until shows a red, a dark red.
Even.
Yeah, spread evenly with all of the onions and dark red. So we'll continue sauteing it for about 10 minutes, and it'll be, with the berbere in there, the mixture is more prone to stick to the bottom of the pan. So as my mom is sauteing it, she'll continue adding a bit of water along the way for about 10 minutes. The heat of the berbere will depend on how long you saute it. So if you want it to be slightly less spicy, you could saute it for 15 or 20 minutes, but it takes away from the flavor. But it definitely, you could reduce some of the heat, i.e. like the spiciness of the berbere.
When it starts to stick on the bottom, I'll start to add some water.
Okay, yeah. So when it starts sticking to the bottom, she'll add some water, and you know, it's just enough to make sure that it's not sticking or no longer sticking. So probably about like 1/4 of a cup of water or 1/2 cup of water at a time, very little.
Maybe I'll add some water now.
Okay.
Just a little water.
Just a bit of water. As you see, it's the boiled water from the electric kettle. So that you get a sense of it.
Then,
yeah.
the lid
And
on.
then just close the lid
For a couple of minutes.
for a couple of minutes.
Keep
and
doing
then,
this for
yeah, then we'll
15
open
minutes.
the lid and then stir it for about 10 to 15 minutes. So while the onion and berbere mixture is sauteing, we're gonna boil the eggs, and I think the general rule of thumb for a well-boiled egg is about 8 minutes, boiling for 8 minutes, but we like to boil for about 15 minutes, and these eggs are particularly cold, so we'll boil it for about 15 minutes. Once it's boiled, we'll peel the eggs and we'll just get it ready to put into the wet later on the stage of the wet making. So it's been about, let's say, 13 minutes since we've been sauteing it, and as the mixture starts sticking to the bottom, Chef Lemlem has been adding water to it. Again, just a pinch of water just to make sure it doesn't stick. And now that the mixture is sauteed, it's ready for us to add the next ingredient, which is the butter, the Ethiopian or Eritrean spice butter, and that was about 3 tablespoons of it. Okay. As it's being sauteed, both like with the butter and before putting in the butter, the aroma is quite strong and pervasive. I would recommend that if you're making this at home, open your windows and close all of your bedroom doors, and just make sure you don't have clothes or purses near the vicinity of the kitchen, because the smell is it's delicious, but it's also pretty strong. Taking the lemon out.
It smells good.
Yeah. As we all know as well, when you soak the chicken in salt and lemon, it's essentially it's also similar to brining it. The purpose of the soaking it in the lemon and salt is more for cleaning purposes, and instead of trying to get rid of as many of the potential bacteria that you have in natural chicken. But it also indirectly we're brining it, which tenderizes the chicken just a bit. So we'll rinse the chicken. Rinse the chicken one more time, and then we'll be ready to put it into the pot. After we took the lemon out, we rinsed it twice just to make sure that it doesn't retain the lemon flavor.
So we already did one. This is the second one.
The second.
On the third one, we're gonna put it in.
Okay. So this is the second time we're rinsing it, and as Chef Lemlem said, on the third round, once we do the third round, we'll drain it and put the chicken into the pot. In the meantime, just check on your pot, make sure that the mixture is not sticking to the bottom, the onion and berbere mixture is not sticking to the bottom, and if you need to add some water to it, add some water to it. Just enough so that the mixture isn't sticking to the pot, to keep it from dirty. So this is the third rinse.
And the last one.
And the last rinse.
I'm going to take it with the water on.
Okay. Take it to...
So I'm going to squeeze every one of them.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to rinse my hand.
Okay. Rinse her hand, and now she's going to squeeze the water out of each piece of chicken and put it in the pot.
No fat. There's no fat.
Yeah, all clean. And all the fat has been trimmed off of it. And it goes into the pot. So stir the chicken and cover it with the onion berbere mixture.
Once it's even, you can let it sit for a little while.
Okay, so more or less evenly coated, and all the chicken has been mixed in properly, and we'll let it sit for a while, and that'll enable some of the juices to start coming out, and it'll become a bit more less thick. Close the put the lid on and let it sit for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you keep checking.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll intermittently keep checking on it, just to make sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. So
Very gently.
yeah. So as you see, the pot, we haven't added any amount of water. Since we put the chicken in, and all of its natural juices are starting to come into the sauce. And now, as the chicken cooks, as it gets more tender, we're going to stir it gently so that the chicken doesn't fall apart, or the chicken meat doesn't fall from its bones. So it's been cooking for about 15 minutes, and then after a few minutes we'll add water, and get close to finishing. So it's been about 20 minutes in total, but maybe like 18 minutes of it just stewing in its own juices, and now we'll add water, about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of water. It's again boiled initially in the kettle, and just put it in just so that you have coverage.
Yeah, enough sauce.
Yeah.
It's with injera.
Yeah. As you see, it's not too much, so you can still see some of the chicken.
Maybe I should add some more little bit.
Okay, I'll add a bit more water. Okay. Again, it's not a significant amount. It's about 2 cups of water.
And we put the salt.
Okay, and now we'll put in that teaspoon of salt, and we'll let it continue cooking, and when this comes to a boil, we'll be nearly done. So the Doro Wot has come to a boil, and just a few things to note. In terms of the salt, it's salt to taste, or 1 teaspoon is generally what you use, but if you prefer it a bit saltier, then use 1.5 teaspoons, so it's really to taste. And also, in terms of the heat, we started with low heat to saute the onions initially when it went to the pot. But once we added the oil, you increase the heat to a medium and keep it on medium. So this is cooking at medium heat at this point. So the wet is almost done, and in a few minutes we'll be adding the boiled eggs to the stew. And again, the boiled eggs are optional, but a very delicious addition if you do eat eggs. All right, so now the wet is done, and we turned off the heat because it's done, and the the wet doesn't have to sort of still be boiling on the stove for us to put the egg in. The egg has been boiled, and then the chef here is slicing them and to enable some of the sauce to seep into the egg. You don't have to do this. This is optional. Again, adding the egg is optional, as well as slicing it. We sometimes slice it, sometimes don't, but traditionally you slice it, and it's not a very sort of deep slice. It's just lightly cut and not into the yolk, just the whites of the egg. We're putting in about 8 eggs here, and it's really entirely up to the person cooking. You can, use a dozen eggs, you can use half a dozen, so it's entirely up to how many eggs you want to consume, or if you're, have a lot of people having dinner, then you might want to do it based on the sort of head count.
So now we cover the eggs
Okay,
with the
so
sauce.
just immerse the eggs into the sauce, and you see the consistency of the sauce, and it's still, you can see you can see that the stew has onions. It's not watery, but it has some level of liquidity into it. And this is how you prepare delicious Doro Wot. And I, again, can attest, hands down, this is one of the best Doro Wots that you can make. Thank you for watching, and bon appetit.